Hi, everyone. My name is Levi Allison, and I am an elementary music teacher here at Chadwick International in South Korea. What is my background in music, and how did I get into music education? Well, that is an actually funny question because my background in music started with my father. My father was very much into music for a very long time, and I can remember driving down the road with him listening to Queen and Chuck Mangione on the flugelhorn several times and realizing how much joy he was getting from that music. And it was something I recognized even as a young learner and was something I wanted to explore. I started music in the 5th grade playing the trumpet, and I went into high school band. I then went into the University of Kansas, where I obtained a degree in music education and was able to participate in different groups and learned an amazing amount. And that's how I got my career started, was there. Once I started teaching, I realized I wanted to continue learning. And so I went back to school at Emporia State University, where I worked on obtaining 2 master's degrees, one in educational leadership and another in curriculum instruction. And both have been amazingly rewarding within my own classroom. Before South Korea, I worked in Kuwait and China, and now here teaching the PYP within the IB program. I've taught all the way from early years to pre-nursery, all the way to grade 5 formally. And I've done a lot of extracurricular activities with band, orchestra, and different string quartets. What has been your experience of integrating technology into my classroom? My experience has been a journey of reflection. What are some things I'm very good at, and what are some things I'm not so good at? And one of the things I've realized is when I am very vulnerable and upfront with the students and say, hi, hey, this is the first time I've ever used this program. I'm excited to see what we can do and how this works for us. If it doesn't work, that's fine, but let's see if it can. And when they realize that I am no longer the expert in the room, but I'm also a learner, we were able to come up with some amazing tools that were student driven, that were student created. And the power that created within our own classroom allowed students to continue working without looking over their shoulder to see, oh, am I doing it correctly? Oh, is this the right answer? And it's been one of the highlights of using technology in my classroom that I've taken to all aspects of my classroom is to really create student-initiated goals and student-initiated learning through this. How did I discover Flat for Education, and what has been my experience? I am lucky enough to work with a very diverse group of educators here at Chadwick International. And I was lucky enough for one of my colleagues to have worked with Flat for a number of years. And when we went to distance learning, it was apparent how easy she was able to shift from in-person learning to online learning due to Flat's function of sharing music, sharing different compositions, their editing features, their feedback feature, and it was something I wanted to join. And so even with my grade 1 students in a very limited capacity, we were able to create music and follow along in that music. And it was incredible. They were able to continue their learning even at home. They were able to play with a steady beat, play and sing tunefully, because everybody knew what an A was on the staff. And that's where we continued working. What is the role of music education in society? My opinion is music education is what binds us all together as humans. It is what allows us to connect through space and time, or it allows us to communicate without language. And it is something that I do believe, having moved all over the world and having taught students from dozens and dozens of countries, that music is the one aspect in our school today where everybody has a way to connect. Everybody has a musical outlet. Everybody can connect to music in some form. And it is my goal and my job to find that way they connect and help support that within my classroom. What role does or should a music teacher have in the formation of children? This question has been one that has looked very different throughout my career so far. The beginning of my career, I was a typical teacher that was at the very front of the classroom. I held all the knowledge. I bestowed this knowledge, and it was always listen to me. After a lot of self-reflection, a lot of professional development, and amazing colleagues questioning that and really making me think what is best for kids, I've worked very hard on becoming more of a sideline character in the classroom, of where I'm facilitating conversations, where I'm asking questions about students' wonderings and how they can look into this. This isn't to mean that we're still not learning skills. We're learning skills through these questions and through their wonderings in a way that A, supports our curriculum, and B, supports their own student agency in a way that everybody is owning their own learning. What can I advise others to do to maintain a good relationship with students and keep them engaged with music? It is interesting, this question, because this question is one of the things that I really struggled with in the beginning of my career, because I was quote unquote only the music teacher. And we had a culture at this school where if a student wasn't good at music, they weren't ever going to be good in music. And it took a long time for me to change that narrative of what it means to be quote unquote good in music. And it took me from getting out of the classroom, going and joining student soccer games, going to different little events after school, so students could see that not only did I care about them in the classroom, but I care about their other interests outside of the classroom. And it created this dialogue of connection. It wasn't about music. It wasn't about what they were bringing to the music classroom. It was about how are you and I going to connect, and how you and I are going to help you within music. What do you think is the future of music education? Well, if I reflect and think about my own experience in my general music class, where it was mainly textbooks and seats, and I think about what we are doing now in my classroom about listening to student voice, gathering questions, building units together, co-creating goals, and then creating assessment tools to see how we're doing with those goals, I'm excited to think that the future is going to be of music education is going to be a lot more student driven. It's going to be a lot less of what the teacher, quote unquote, the music expert thinks is important, and more of what do you think is important? How can we still teach these musical skills in a way that is empowering you and is exciting for you, and not just the same song that I've taught multiple times because I think it's a good song. Can you tell us about recess duty and the story behind it? Absolutely. I started a podcast this year called Recess Duty. The goal of Recess Duty was to gather educators far and wide to come and share their own personal stories in education. The reason why I named it Recess Duty was I was, funny enough, on recess duty, and I looked at all the students that I was in charge of, and I saw that nearly every single one of them was enjoying life. There was no gloomed over faces. There was no dull eyes. Everybody was engaged. Everybody was enjoying the company of others, and they were talking and they were sharing. And I asked a student, why do you like recess? What is it about it? And they told me, well, Mr. Levi, it's because I get to be who I want to be, and I get to talk to my friends, and I get to hang out with them, and I get to do things and explore what I want to do. Because of that, I started a podcast for us as adults to come together and get a little bit of that wonder and excitement in our own duty called Recess Duty. And it has been an amazing journey. I've had dozens of amazing guests so far, and we are looking like we are going to be here to stay for a very long time. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or you would love to connect, I am on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find me at Levi_Allison42 on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn at Levi_Allison42. And you can find me on Instagram at Levi_Allison42. I love collaboration. I love talking about how we can continue working with our students.